All right, let's talk about something really cool. We're going to get our hands on this little piece of hardware that packs an absolutely massive punch. I'm talking about the PCS Electronics 800-watt pallet amplifier. And our mission today? It's simple. Figure out how to tame this beast. I mean, just look at it. It's compact, it's elegant, and it can push out a staggering 800 watts of RF power. But, and this is a big but, here's the detail that changes the whole game. The manual is crystal clear. These things are sensitive. And they're sold with absolutely zero warranty. So yeah, this is a high-performance, high-stakes game we're playing. So you've got all this incredible potential sitting right here on this little circuit board. And that brings us to the big question, the one that's going to guide this whole explainer. How do you actually unleash all that power without, getting burned or ending up with a very, very expensive and very silent paperweight? To figure that out, we've got to start at the beginning. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with. So let's cover the fundamentals. What is this thing, and what was it actually designed to do? Okay, so this amplifier pallet, it's really built for two things: convenience and just raw power. It's engineered for what's called wideband operation, and what that means for you is that you don't have to be constantly fiddling with it, retuning it all the time within its frequency range. The promise here is simple: reliably deliver over 700 watts from something that's, well, remarkably small. Okay, now for the fun part. Let's take a quick tour of the board itself. Seriously, knowing the layout, where everything plugs in, that is the absolute first step if you want your build to be a success. So let's get into it. Let's examine the anatomy of this beast. First things first, and this is arguably the most critical physical step of all. See these? These are your mounting points. The manual says to use M3 screws to bolt this thing down to a large heatsink. And let me be really, really clear about this. A heatsink with some powerful fans isn't just a suggestion. It's an absolute requirement, non-negotiable. All right, see this red terminal? That's where the juice comes in. This is your positive power supply connection. Now, the specs say this board can handle up to 55 volts DC. Make a mental note of that number, 55 volts. Trust me, it's going to come up again later, and it's really important. Okay, now let's flip over to the input. This little spot right here, that's where your drive signal comes in. And we're talking a really low power signal, just 2 to 4 watts. Now, the manual is super specific on this part. You have to use a PTFE coax cable, something like an RG178. And, this is key, your leads need to be as short as you can possibly make them. Well, if you've got an input, you've got to have an output, right? And this is it. This is where that massive 800-watt amplified signal comes roaring out of the board. Now, to handle that kind of power, you obviously can't use the same little cable. You've got to upgrade. The manual points to a thicker PTFE coax, something beefy like RG142. So, we've had the grand tour of the board. Now it's time to talk numbers. If you really want to master this thing, you've got to learn to speak its language. And that means we need to dive into the key specs straight from the documentation. Okay, here's the full technical data sheet. I know, it might look a little intimidating at first glance, but don't worry. We're going to cut through the noise and zero in on the three most critical numbers on this list, the ones you absolutely positively cannot ignore. First up, the big one, the headline number, 800 watts. That's the potential. That's the peak power this thing can pump out, but only under ideal conditions, specifically when you're feeding it a full 55 volts. This, my friends, is the power we're chasing. Remember that number I told you to remember? Here it is again, 55 volts. This one is so crucial. The manual literally uses the words absolute maximum. And that is not a friendly suggestion. Pushing the voltage even a little bit beyond this limit is pretty much the fastest way to cause a permanent, catastrophic, expensive failure. And finally, here's a number that might actually surprise you. The maximum input drive power is just 4 watts. That's it. It takes this tiny little whisper of a signal to get this massive roar on the other side, but that's also why overdriving the input is such a common mistake. And it's a mistake that will kill this amplifier instantly. It's all about finesse, not brute force. Okay, so now we know the layout and we know the limits. We're getting there. But before a single volt of power goes anywhere near this board, there is a mandatory ritual you have to perform. Think of it as your pre-flight check. These are the non-negotiable steps you have to take before you even think about flipping that power switch. These 4 steps are your foundation for success. Number 1, bolt it securely to a proper heat sink with active cooling. We've said it before and we'll say it again. 2, use the right PTFE coax cable. 3, keep all your solder leads incredibly short. Now, why is that so important? Well, at these high frequencies, even a few extra millimeters of wire can act like a tiny little inductor, and that can cause instability, which can completely destroy the device. And finally, number 4, make sure you have proper RF shielding in place. All right, we've talked a lot about what to do. Now let's flip the script and talk about what not to do. The manual is pretty blunt about why these things fail, and trust me, these are the rules to a game you really, really don't want to lose. So you want to know how to destroy this beautiful piece of engineering? Here are the top 5 ways. Feed it too much drive power. Give it too much supply voltage. Skimp on the cooling. Connect it to a mismatched antenna, or worse, no antenna at all. And finally, get lazy and use long soldering leads that just invite oscillation. Any single one of those will get you a very dead amplifier, and it'll make that zero warranty policy very real, very fast. Look, if you only remember one single warning from this entire explainer, please let it be this one. I'm going to read it to you directly from the manual because it's that important. It says, and I quote, "Finally, never ever operate any transmitter or amplifier without a properly tuned antenna. They don't mince words, and neither should you." Okay, wow. After all those warnings, you might be thinking, is it even worth it? Well, what's the reward for doing everything by the book? It's simple. The reward is getting to power this thing up successfully, doing it responsibly, and then getting to enjoy the absolutely incredible performance that it was designed for in the first place. So let's just quickly summarize the keys to your success here. First, always monitor your output power. Second, know when to back off. Don't push it so hard that you hit gain compression. Third, and this is important, respect the fact that this is a piece of kit for experienced builders. And finally, the golden rule. Double check and then triple check every single connection before you even think about powering it on. So yeah, there's no doubt about it. This little board is an absolute beast. But you know what? It's a beast that can totally be tamed. The manual gives you everything you need, all the rules of engagement, all the limits, all the keys to success. So really, there's only one question left to ask. You know the rules now, and you understand the power. So, are you ready to build something great?